Hello everyone, welcome to the Otaku channel. I'm Ali and today we are having an interview or a chat with one of the great developer I know who is a Google developer expert, and it's great to have him here. And I would, if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm David Odari. I am a software engineer, but I mostly do mobile development, Android. That's not where I started, but that's where I'm at now. Been a GDE since I can't remember the year exactly, maybe 2021 or two.
Somewhere you mentioned it was 3 years, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And yeah, other than that, I'm probably doing other away from tech. I'm probably somewhere doing some photography or some DJing on the side as my hobbies, and yeah, just traveling around. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell, on a piece of paper. Yeah.
Perfect. By the way, I forgot to say, if you're new to the Otaku channel, you can just subscribe to the channel and watch the other videos we have. The channel is more like about software development, and I upload and record some tutorial videos about, I don't know, solid course we have in a channel. And I also like blockchain development, and I did some recording about blockchain and Android and all these stuff. If you're interested, you can take a look at those as well. Okay, David, could you tell a little bit about your journey in software development?
Yeah, sure. How did I begin? So I think my journey in tech began in 2016. I think I had finished high school at that time. And usually so I'm from Kenya, and we do this exam, we finish high school, and then you have to there's this gap between joining uni and high school. So people usually are doing all random kind of things. You could take a language course or whatever. So I saw some friends, I think some friends had posted some images of something they were doing. Like the screen looked all red. I think they were solving a bug, or a bug was dealing with them. And I was a bit curious, like, what is this? What are you guys doing? So they were in a boot camp, and I also decided to join the boot camp a few months later. And in this boot camp, I started so it was like an all-inclusive boot camp. We did web, we did mobile. So I started with some HTML. I think PHP was what we were using at the time. So we started with web. Then the final module of this bootcamp, we were doing mobile, Android, with Java at the time. And I think the tool that we were also building was called Eclipse Studio or something, Eclipse. So that was my entry or beginning into software development. At the time, I didn't really take it seriously. I was like, okay, this is just something, I'm just doing just to pass time before I join uni. But also in uni, I was going to study like IT. So I was like, yeah, maybe this is something I'd enjoy or will come to help me years later. So yeah, I did the course, I did the boot camp. I remember we had to build this project. For you to graduate, you had to build a project from scratch and present it to your lecturers. And I remember the project I built was a spaghetti, if I think now, comparing my skills now and then, that was a very terrible spaghetti code. I just was copy pasting so many things from the internet that I didn't even understand. I remember trying to implement I was also very focused on some details which maybe weren't important. I remember I spent so much time on just building a splash screen, and it didn't look that great. It looked terrible compared to the one on the tutorial. And after that, I joined uni. And then I forgot a bit about Android, because now in uni I was exposed to a bit more other languages like C, C++, a bit of low level and bit of just other languages away from the Java and the PHP. I also got introduced to JavaScript and so many other languages.
Why you didn't get caught to other languages? You said about HTML and web and these languages.
Yeah, that's interesting. Why I didn't go with the other languages? I think it's easier to go with web. I think web is very accessible, very easy to deploy and see things. But I think I also like my life a bit difficult. I don't know why I went with Android. I think Android is a bit difficult compared to other. I kind of liked solving these challenges that Android kept on bringing. Like when you solve one problem, there's another problem to solve.
Yeah.
From the Gradle to the tooling to how do you get your app on App Store.
Yeah, I can confirm
Also,
the Android developer's
yeah.
life is so difficult.
So this for me was interesting. I kind of enjoy this kind of challenges, but also I think the first money I ever made from like software engineering or just tech was from someone wanting an Android application or someone wanting help with their Android application assignment or something, and they were willing to pay for it. So that was the first time I was like, okay, so I can actually make money with the little skills I have. And so this used to be, I think also in uni, this used to be very common. Like, yeah, someone wants help with a project, or final year wants, hey, how can I build? I have this idea, this project I need to do for my final year. How can I build it? And I already had the skills. I mean, I wasn't that advanced in uni, but I have the skills to build these apps very easily.
Excuse me, do you remember like a little bit more detail? Did it need a backend or it was just an Android local app?
No, I think at the time I didn't really have a lot of backend skills, and I think Firebase was all like, I think Firebase was still also quite a new-ish tool at the time. So I was almost everything. I just do it with Firebase. You want something, I always just recommend Firebase as a mobile dev. This was the easiest way for me to get the ideas up and running. I think at the time, this Firebase, I think Firestore was also something, like the Firestore database to like store stuff. Also using like the events. What was it at the time? That's how you could use the write a Node.js form of like script and like trigger events based on to react if something happens to the database. So I was pretty much deep in the Firebase world at the time. So no need to like look for like build another backend separately. And yeah, this was working, considering also the scope of the projects were very tiny and just like a final year project. But I guess Firebase can get quite expensive if you're building for a huge company.
Yeah, but like for those kind of project for small startups, it makes sense to do that approach.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, but it was a fun time experimenting. So I did a lot of that. Then uni came. I think somewhere we were also doing our own projects. And then me and some friends went to a hackathon. I remember we went to 1 or 2 hackathons can't remember exactly what we were building, but I think one we did win, one we didn't. And this also kind of taught me how to work under a bit of pressure. I think that was the first time I was exposed to working a bit under pressure, with a deadline, with times. And I also had, what's this community? The Google Developer Club. I think usually most universities have this nowadays. I think now it's called GDSC or something of the sort.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is where I would also meet people who are either, maybe they were in the uni, they left and they now come and they give a talk, or I meet other people who are in tech related courses and are also building stuff or interested in tech and want to learn something, or someone is doing backend, someone else is doing something AI related or something front end related. So doing this kind of also gave me like more skills or more insights, more confidence in building apps. Then this went a step further. So from these meetups, there are now other meetups that like a bit bigger. I'd say like they used to happen on the weekends. I remember it was called Android 254 and Kotlin 254 and like things like GDG. So these are like the bigger. It's not only the uni people, but just people from all over the city coming to these meetups, people who are actually working, people who are consultants, freelancers, people who are hiring. So from there is when I got this a real exposure to like people in the industry and what they're doing. And is that where I got my first job? I'm trying to remember how I got my first ever role. Yeah, I think my first ever role, I can't remember if it was from a meetup or just talking to someone from uni and just ended up, but I don't remember my first job was more like building small projects, like 3 months, 6 months.
Yeah. And based on what you're saying, you've been quite active since the beginning in the communities, and I believe like you learn so many things from this community and hackathon and these programming events. How do you found that? I know it's been quite useful. I can see it even now, but like some other people are a little bit different. They just a bit more introvert and staying on their desk. And like, I think I am one of them because I found my first job on newspaper and I learned what I could at home with my own laptop. I didn't really know anybody there's software developers, and my first software developer friends were my colleagues. That was like that. But how do you see these differences?
Yeah, there's always the case of being introverted. Yeah, I think people that's different. Also, I think now after working with different people have a way of presenting or showing their work. Some people love, go ahead, give a conference talk or write a blog, and some people don't really enjoy this. But in my opinion, I think it's nice to always put yourself out there, because I think the more you put yourself out there, the more you increase your opportunities. The opportunities that you can see, like you said, you saw like a newspaper ad and you got a job. But then there's also the cases, like also I was reading some of their jobs which are also not always advertised. So for example, you might get this by for example, you're going to an event for the first, you don't even have to give a talk. Maybe you're just, interacting with another software developer. You can, of course, if it's another software developer, of course, you have another things to talk about, like you both on the same page on, tech, what technologies are using, libraries, best practice. So just from these talks, you can find, I'm looking for someone for my team to help me with this. Can we have a chat? You exchange. So this has happened to me at least a few times, once or twice. So I think that is one way. I think it's being comfortable pushing it. You have to, if someone, especially if you're looking for your first opportunities, like getting your foot in the door, I think you have to kind of get out of your comfort zone and try and look for these opportunities, especially right now. I think I don't know how the market is, but after interviewing like last year, it felt a bit more tough. So I guess you have to be out there even more, or show yourself or stand out. So if you want to stand out, you have to kind of break away from this. Doesn't necessarily breaking away from the introvertness doesn't mean that you have to be giving all these talks. It just means sometimes you just have to be in the right place at the right time and just talking to some people. And yeah, you never know what you might get or who you might talk to.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think we are a bit lucky in our industry. There are many ways to just show yourself and being a bit more active, like being in just an event or have a talk, which is great, and you show yourself and your knowledge, or you just go to GitHub and do some contribution on an open source project. That also, I think, is a good thing for anybody who wants to be a bit more active in the community, or even just writing a blog about what you've learned. These are things you can gain from the community and networking.
Yeah, exactly. I think also writing, when it came to, I think that one of the good advice I got in the beginning was, sometimes even if you want to start, don't think about like the many people. Just write for yourself. If you encounter a problem, you solve it. Just write for yourself.
It's a good idea.
And yeah, if someone else might encounter the issue, but mostly just think about like, how would I want to discover this solution to this problem? And yeah, before you know it, one or two people might be, okay, this was helpful for me. And that's just how it starts, and then it just grows and grows and grows.
Yeah, agree. And let's tell us about a bit more about your experience in different industries. I see you work in logistic, travel, FinTech, and all these different stuff. A little bit more, and which one you like more to work with?
Yeah. So I think I'll start with, I think when I was in Kenya, I was doing a bit of short-term contracts, or like small apps for mostly MVP, or like testing a concept and seeing it's working, or just for a small business. That was mostly and they mostly were in a bit of, there's some logistics involved. I think there's one to do with agriculture. There's one to do with e-commerce at some point. But yeah, those were a bit rough, I'd say. Also at the time, I didn't really have a lot of experience as far as product mindset and etc goes. So at the time, yeah, they were a bit rough. And I think also some opinions of mine at the time were a bit naive or too ambitious. Yeah, looking at that time, yeah, it was a lot of mistakes were made in the beginning. But I think when I moved to Germany, after I think I worked in Kenya for almost 3 or so years. Then moved to Germany for, I think it was Trivago in Düsseldorf, where I'm at right now. So this is a travel company. Also, I think I joined a travel company when it was COVID time, which was a bit of
Tough,
yeah,
yeah.
that was a tough period, I think, for almost all travel companies at the time due to the restrictions and etc. So I think here, I think it was also the first time I was working with a bigger team compared to my previous experience at the time. I was mostly either the only mobile developer or there's like maybe two of us. And yeah, we're just like trying to bounce ideas off each other very fast. Yeah, very different working styles, very different ways to get your work merged and to the Play Store. So yeah, this first time working with a slightly bigger team, also an app with quite a number of downloads and a whole different process, and also a bit of more of international users. So there's also new problem set to think of. Then I think the next company I moved was, I think Flink is how can I describe it? Q-commerce, so quick commerce. So at the time, I think I think I think there were a couple of companies like this which cropped up during COVID times. For things like Gorillas,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, no, I think Gorillas was the best one to compare with Flink. So basically, what they do is they deliver your goods as quickly as possible, at least under 10 minutes on a best case scenario. You order it now, in 10 minutes you have your groceries, everything. So yeah, I was part of this team, but this was also a different environment for me now, because this was the first time I'm working in a team that has two apps, like the client app where people are actually ordering, and then there's a second app for the riders. So I was working on the rider side. So this is I think also the mindset you have for building this other app is a bit different from the guest app, because the guest one or the client app is just something they're gonna just open it when they need to order and then forget. But then the rider deliverer app is something that is always used. It's a tool that needs to always be working for the riders at all times, and then it has longer sessions because they're busy delivering multiple orders at the same time. So that was an interesting switch for me. And then I think after here, I went to Trade Republic, which is a fintech. Yeah, also I was affected by layoffs at the time.
Okay.
I think also this was also the time when layoffs are happening and part of my team was affected. Then that's when I found myself Trade Republic fintech. Fintech was also a whole different. Fintech is just something else. I
How do
think
you
starting
explain it from a mobile developer point of view?
from a mobile developer point of view, I think first off, when you're building your features, so I'll start with Trade Republic being how it was different. Okay, there's a lot of developers. I think probably the largest dev team I've ever worked in.
How many?
We were almost 30 plus, mobile Android only. That's just the Android only devs. And yeah, there are a lot of called pods, atoms, to build each feature. I think fintech is also an environment with a lot of compliance and audits and regulation compared to all the other sectors that I have had the opportunity to work in. So this one has had the most. Everything had to be proper. Yeah, you're dealing with people's money. So you're dealing with people's money. You have to make sure that everything you're doing, you also have to consider things like security with all the features that you build. And yeah, I think here I was mostly working on the customer chat support. And I think AI is
Covering
almost in
that.
everything. And now I was part of the team where we were trying to add AI to the application. Yeah, that was an interesting quick one. Then I moved to my current company, which is called Blacklane. It's like a chauffeur service. So it's a bit from a tech perspective, it kind of has some similarities with Flink, which is now the dual app approach, or like it's kind of like an Uber, but I'd call it exquisite, bougie kind of Uber. So you get like a chauffeur and like you get some very premium things which you guess you will get in other hailing apps. So some very premium hailing service. So yeah, I think now I'm also now back in the chauffeur side, like rewriting the application. I think something like this had happened, but now part of the Black Lane one from the beginning. So kind of some experience is from what I did back then. And yeah, I'd say it seems like like the dual app hailing or delivery or kind of industry seems like it's the one that has appeared twice. So it's safe to say that is where it seems my strength or where I enjoy it the most right now. Yeah, but I think each industry has its own different approach to how you're going to build the app or how you're going to think about the app. If it's some might lean more towards security, some you want to think more about your design and the quality. For example, if you're, for example, a current clients, someone who's going to use our service probably is of a certain persona, like they make wealthy or something of the sort. Probably someone like this, you also want to deliver very nice, high quality, design and look to the app. And I think each app has its different mentality to it, or like how you want to present the app, how you want to build the app, how you want to test the app.
Yep. And just one question on top of this topic. How do you see people and culture in these different industries, like in FinTech or, I don't know, in e-commerce? Are people different, or, the HR or the environment? Did you feel anything?
Yeah, people, I think from all I think the most I've ever felt that like super pressure, super stress was definitely FinTech. But again, it's dealing with, I think there's so many memes and jokes ever about working in FinTech. And yeah, I think after working in FinTech, like, yeah, definitely FinTech is a lot of high pressure, but also tends to be the one that also pays a lot, but also it doesn't come just, obviously if you're going to get paid a lot, it's going to come with also its set of expectations and pressures. Yeah, the others also, I think culture, I think different company, also I think the culture depends on the people who've been at the company or like the founders, etc. So different companies, all of them had a set of, I think it really depends on what the founder believes in, and that is kind of is what's gonna drive the culture, I assume, or it's gonna trickle down to everybody else. So yeah, some companies might value the tech side and value like technical inputs, but more of like just focus product doesn't care about much about the tech side, just push the product in whatever way you can.
Yeah, I agree. Let's switch the topic and tell us a little bit more about your journey toward being Google developer expert. It's like, for me and many other, I think, are a bit exciting to know how first you can get to that position to be Google developer expert, and how it looked like. Yeah, in general, if you could tell us a little bit.
Yeah, sure. How the journey to GDE. So I think the journey I think even before you become a GDE, if you do it, means that you're already just even doing what normally GDEs are doing. And for me, it was mostly I'd work on my projects and share them. I'd also write a little blog, a little post or blog post on what I've discovered while implementing something, or some bug that was really terrorizing me the whole night or something. So I read something small about it. Then we used to have like the meetups I talked about earlier, like every weekend there's like some form of meetup happening. I'd always try and contribute something or share something or volunteer and, hey, I want to talk about this topic, something I was doing. So as much as I was mostly from what I'm doing during the week or something I've been learning, I'm like, okay, let me go and share it with on the meetup. Yeah, so that went on. I also did some online, I remember at some point I was doing some online teaching or course or something so I was just doing this over a period of time. And I remember, so how it happened is, I think I was on Twitter, and then some friends were like, yeah, how come you're not a GDE, by the way? Then I was like, it's not really, I don't know, it's not really something I was actively pursuing, but it was like I did think about it once or twice, like, hey, this would be nice. So yes, then my friends were like, hey, okay, let us try and see if we can become a GDE. So I remember a friend of mine, he's also a GDE, he called him Manshu. He was like, I'd like to nominate you as a GDE. Then I remember talking to, was it Ben? Yeah, I think Ben is the one responsible for the Android GDEs. Okay, yeah. He was like, yeah, let's let's get you in the GDE, like a GDE application process. So you submit like some of the things you've been doing. Once that check is fine, they now go on to the next phase, which is you'll talk with one or two of the GDEs. I can't remember the process exactly, but you'll talk with one of the GDEs about some of the stuff you've been doing, or about your domain. So it could be a GDE for something to AI, LLMs, such kind of things, or Android or Flutter. So depending on what domain you're at, then I think there's some part just to do with like the community and just talking about just you and what you do and what you envision to do, or something of the sort. And after that, then you will be told, yeah, cool, you now welcome to the GDE program.
So there's no serious interview, like deep into like asking technical question, like a normal job interview?
No, I don't think. No, don't go really deep into the technical like a job interview, but it's mostly, of course, just checking in like, hey, this is the stuff you've been talking about. Of course, if you're going to be a GD, also you have to be at least sharing some content that relates to the the domain. So I think already, if you're already doing all this, of course you do have some, I guess, assumption you do have some level of knowledge on what's happening on the platform and what's changing. So yeah, also a good way would be to do this is just because every time there's always something new in Android, maybe keep people updated on what's happening in Android. This changed, that changed. This is how you can implement this in your app now. How to migrate from, maybe people are using this library and now Google released this library. Show people how to, migrate to this new. So such as just some of the ideas which can help you, stand out. So yeah, I think after just looking at all these things you've been contributing, all these things you're doing, and I think the one or two calls that you'll have with, I think one is with a GDE and one is with a Googler, and then they both have to be in agreement to like, okay, looks good. Then you're fine. You enter into the program, and from there, I think once you're part of the program, you have access to some things or resources. That is, if you want to give talks, you want to do help. Sometimes they need someone to help. Also being a GD is it's not always, I think, about just giving talks and such. There's other things you could do, like for example, providing feedback to Google for things that they build before they release it. So you could always be providing feedback for that. And yeah, there's a bunch of other Google related things you could be participating in. But yeah, if you also want to give talks, there's also avenues for this.
Cool. And I think the main thing about being GD is you need to be active in the community and just helping people in the community to learn something new.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be active. Also, after you join, you still have to continue being active. So it kind of renews every year. So you have to keep on being active. Yeah, so that's pretty much how it goes now.
Cool. And does it give you any benefit in the market? I don't know, from this program, or not really?
I think the benefit is maybe they can help with if you need to go and give a talk, they can help you. Like they can help. For example, I need to go give a talk somewhere in France. I can be like, hey, I have this talk, and they can help. So I think some of the equipment I got in the beginning was kind of reimbursed by Google because I was using them for creating some of my online stuff for Android. Things like the travel costs and accommodation for some of these things. I think that is one advantage that I'd say is nice. As far as jobs go, it's not really something I think for job interviews is a bit different. For job interviews, I guess you just have to show, it doesn't matter, you just have to show whether or not you can build the things that they want you to build and you have the necessary skills. But yeah, for job interviews, personally, I haven't really used the GDE, but I will say the network that I got from the GDE community was helpful for looking for jobs, and the time that I was looking for one, and just the people I met and getting to hear what other people are doing. I think that was I think the most beneficial thing, I'd say.
And I think if I understood correctly, to be able to be a Google developer expert, you need to first be active in the community, and then someone from GD will recognize you and give you like a chance to apply, right?
Yeah. But sometimes you don't even have to wait for someone to recognize. If you feel like, hey, I've been doing a lot of awesome things for, also you need to have done it for, let's say, for some period of time, let's say at least 2 years, I think. So I think if you have like you've built some form of community backing, or you've been doing a lot of stuff for the community as far as Google Tech is concerned for at least like 2 years or so, then yeah, you can just approach either by this time, either like a GD or Google will have noticed. If not, you can just approach one and be like, hey, I think I am ready to be a GDE. Then you'll receive like a form of some application process thing or link, and then you'll have to fill it out with all these things that you've been doing for those past 2 years, and then if it's fine, they move you on to the next process. Usually it doesn't take long. It takes like a few weeks.
Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing that. And let's change the topic a bit into a bit more technical stuff. Could you tell a little bit about the Kotlin language? What do you like the most about it? And a little bit of KMP, if you have experience with it.
Yeah, Kotlin language. What I like most about it. What do I like most? What do I use most about?
It's mobile, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what is my most favorite Kotlin feature right now. I think what I use right now a lot is just named parameters and default values, because it helps, especially if you're expanding or building an app over a period of time. You'll find some classes have a lot of parameters, or you're introducing a new parameter to a very old class. So I think this kind of helps not have to, in terms of refactoring, it kind of makes it less painful. Yeah, I think that's the thing I use a lot of times. I'm trying to think if there's any. I haven't been following up on the latest Kotlin features for the last few months, but I assume there's a bunch of new performance improvements as well that I need to look into. And sealed classes. I love.
Yeah, I just wanted to say sealed classes.
Yeah, I use that a lot for states.
And how about the KMP? Have you ever used that?
KMP, I have one project that I tried porting to KMP, like a weather, I think it's one of my weather apps. I tried to port it from an Android project to a KMP project. I think I did that, but I haven't maintained it for a while. Also, I'm like curious what has changed since the last time I tried. I think the last time I played with KMP was almost 1 year ago. But when I was doing my interviews, I noticed a lot of there were more companies like now doing KMP than there were like the other years. So I think it's something which is also peaking a lot.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And just let me do a little bit of advertisement. There's a video on YouTube on our Otaku channel. It's about Kotlin 2.0. I introduce all the features the JetBrains implemented, and you can take a look. And if you found it useful, just like it and make use of those features. Yeah. Could you tell a little bit about testing, and especially BDD? I think you have experience around that.
Yeah, I've done a lot of different kinds of tests. I mean, there's the basic unit test, which I think I've done a lot of unit tests just to begin with. JUnit 4, 5. I think, especially with parameterized tests. Then moving on from unit tests, there's the thing that there are tests which I never used to like, but I think I'm kind of starting to enjoy. I don't know if I should call them UI tests or snapshot tests or screenshot tests. There's so many names for this kind of phone-driven tests. But currently, I think in the current project, we use a lot of screenshot. We have unit tests, a lot of unit tests. Also, I think all the projects I've worked with, we had a lot of unit tests. I think the most I ever saw was which project did. There was one project which had almost 6K or 5K unit tests. Then I think Trade Republic and my current Blacklane where I'm at right now, we do screenshot tests. I think these have been really helpful, or like in terms of confidence when it comes to verifying things on the screen look good, they look okay. I think initially I was just like relying a lot on unit tests, but I think with screenshot tests, this really helps a lot.
Could you tell a little bit about the technical side and how you doing this screenshot testing? Are you doing it like a device form on Firebase, or are you using physical? I don't really know about that. Just give us some insight.
Yeah, so no, we're not using Firebase or any form of device farm on the cloud. No, so I think there are libraries which help with this. No, I know there's Paparazzi and there's Robolectric. I think Paparazzi, that was Trade Republic. In my current project where I have, I think Robolectric. I think under the hood, based on the name, I'm not sure. I need to confirm this. I assume some form of Robolectric is happening under there, but you don't need to. It doesn't spin up any device, so it just runs the tests like a unit, as fast as unit tests, and at the end it captures the screenshot, or like captures the screen. I haven't checked the technicals, but it just captures like the view. The view that's currently displayed on the screen, gets a screen grab of that and like stores the screenshot. Then the next time you make a change on this screen, like that's UI related, the tests will fail because there's a difference, or you'll need to update your tests around this. So that is my new preferred way of testing screens, because you don't need to wait for an emulator to start up. And also sometimes it can be, I feel like it might be a bit flaky. I've had a few problems running UI tests with Espresso. I think I haven't used Espresso in a while. So yeah.
I heard a little bit about this screenshot testing. You have to upload like a source screenshot, and then it compare what is being tested and with the actual one, and then it give you a result. Is that right?
Yes. So also I think it's a very nice. For example, I do enjoy when I'm for example, reviewing a pull request. I can see the previous screen and the current screen, and it shows you the diff between the two screens. Also makes it easier to just know what changed design wise when reviewing something. So yeah, it's a very nice way to check, rather than, previews are also nice. I assume, I'm not sure, I think someone on the team mentioned this, how you can do this from previews, but I'm not sure. I haven't looked deep into this, but someone did mention you can generate some form of screenshots from previews, which sounds interesting.
Cool. Let's jump into the last topic, which is about career and the job market. I know you wrote on your LinkedIn about your job search. I think it was last year. And if you could tell a bit about your experience, how did you approach to get the new job, and do you have any criteria for the next company?
Yes. So as I was mentioning earlier, the job market feels a bit, I don't know if it has improved. I haven't been checking, but I feel like I've been seeing a few, at least mobile related roles from my networks a couple of times. But the approach I had last year was, I think, first off, making use of your network. It's very important. Making people aware that, hey, I am looking for a role and I'm looking for something. If you know of something, let me know, or recommend me, refer me. This is my CV. So trying to tell all the people I've worked with, or the people who I'd like to work with, or a company I'd like to work at, like, hey, here is my CV. If you see something, let me know. Another approach I used was going to events, like the Google events. Yeah, the Google events. Maybe there's another developer event happening. There's meetups. So these are also very nice places to interact and just start talking about tech. And then at the end or in the beginning, it'll be, hey, also I'm looking for, a job. We can talk more about this and etc. Another approach was, there are some recruiters who I think I was in contact with, or just stayed in they used to, there's a time I think the job market was very hot and recruiters are always sending jobs. So just reaching out back to those recruiters and being like, hey, do you know of any opportunities? Is there some opening somewhere? Because sometimes the other thing I learned is sometimes a company might have a job open, but it's not yet ready. It's not yet put on the site.
Okay.
So first, maybe they're maybe trying to hire internally or see if someone can switch, or before they go like full blast with it, sharing it out to the public. So that's why it's important to also ask, and don't wait for the career side to have this job there. So sometimes you never know, you might have to ask, and then because I remember also I think one conference I did ask, and the recruiter was like, oh yeah, the job is going to be on the main career site like in 2 weeks or in 1 week. But you see, by just talking to this recruiter or like sharing, you already have like a 1 week head start, I'd say, before it's shared to everybody else. So doing that helped a lot. I think mostly I'd say that was the networking and just talking to people and just putting yourself out there. That's how I got kind of lucky, I'd say, and got my current role. Also, the fact that I think in my current role, I knew like 3 or 4 people who I'd already worked with, so that made things already a bit simpler for me, I'd say. So yeah, I think making use of your networks is the one which I'd say is like in this point in this time the most important one. You have to be a bit more proactive. I think just applying directly, it's nice, but I feel like a referral might be a bit stronger, a bit better. At least you already have someone who's inside who can vouch for, yeah, I know this guy, or I've seen this person do these things, maybe that might be a good fit.
Cool. Thank you for saying those tips. And do you have any advice for those who are going to start the software engineering and getting into the job market, and specifically for Android developers? Do you recommend apply for Android, or even before learn Android, or just go in a different direction? Like after these 7 years you've been in this industry.
I think right now, I was looking more into if you're in uni or campus, or you're just starting and you have time, I think it'd be nice to invest time in like into skills, into mobile, where you can cover both platforms. I think that's gonna help you get into the market a bit fast right now, given the number of roles. I think there's still Android and iOS roles, but I think considering also not many companies have the money from the get-go to hire both, so they usually prefer to hire someone who can do both, even if it's not gonna be very nice technically, but just something to build for both platforms in the beginning. So like things like Flutter, KMP, is it KMP or KMM? I think the name changed.
They call it KMP now.
KMP and Flutter. I think, for example, those two would be a nice to look at. I think also another skill, which is also something I'm trying to add to my skill set, is like more AI related or LLM related kind of skill. I think that's gonna be also something very important to probably change how we do things in the next 5 years or so. Definitely, it's gonna be I feel like it's gonna be a hot skill to have in your toolbox.
Yeah, of course. I think if they are enthusiastic in this type of area, I think it's a bright future for that. And cool. Just last question about this career and job market. If you get a rejection from a job position, what is your approach, and how do you handle it emotionally and professionally?
I think obviously at some point in the beginning I used to be very bitter and angry, like they don't know what they missed on. But also like
same
it's
for everyone, I think.
So I think at some point, I think I've gotten to, to be alive, someone said they've never got, I think I've gotten so many rejection emails. At some point, I just got, just like another day. We'll just try again. The thing is to never stop trying, never stop applying. All you need is just one yes, and that's it. It depends also what stage I got to. If I got a bit far in the stages, then I'll like write to them and be like, hey, can I get some feedback? Yes, to people usually provide, if you got a bit far in the stages, they will provide you like, hey, this is what the interviewer said, this is what they saw this was nice, this was not nice, this was nice, this was not nice. So that also helps know, okay, this is where I went wrong. Or maybe that day, I don't know, you were nervous that day or something else happened that day. So it could be anything. Also, I think also you shouldn't take it as a reflection of your skill, because sometimes you have a good day and sometimes you have bad days. Yes, sometimes that's how it is. Or maybe you might not be the perfect fit for one company, but you're the best fit for a totally different kind of company. And that's just something I came to learn over time. So yes, trying not to take it into heart sometimes, because it's sometimes like, yeah, I felt like everything was nice, everything was right, I said everything correctly, but then it doesn't work out. So that happens a lot.
Yeah, not like the other mindset you could have. Maybe that company is not right for you, and you can just be in a different company and have more chances. Cool. Thank you, David. And it was a very nice talk. I really liked that. And I wanted to ask you if you could give us a final advice for aspiring developers, like in general, for software developers.
For aspiring, well, advice I can give, I think
being active in the community.
Yes, being active is definitely must. But also, I think I'm trying to sum up, like, I'm trying to think of what has been consistent for me the last 7 years, and I think is to always stay learning and always keep growing, always look for something to grow your knowledge in software. I do remember being a software engineer means like you've committed to lifelong learning. So don't get too comfortable, because again, technology is always evolving, it's always changing. Before you know it, something else is out there. It's doing something, like, for example, right now, the AI wave, which is something also to watch out for. So continuous learning, never stop learning, never stop being a student. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great advice, and help us to survive in this industry. Thank you, David, again. And I would like to share your contact to our audience if they have any questions, because I see you're very open in the community and very helpful. You've been active in the event, as you said. Many people learn a lot from you, and I really appreciate it. And say again, thank you. And
welcome.
Hope everyone enjoyed our talk, and I will share those links and what we've discussed in this conversation in the description section. And if you had any question from David or me, you can write it in the comment section. We can talk about it. If you enjoyed the video, again, like the video and don't forget to subscribe. And thank you for watching. Thank you, David.
Thanks for having me.